And what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Designated Players and MLS podcast. We are back to continue our Leagues Cup preview, this time focusing on Western Conference groups. If you don't know how this works, be sure to check out our Eastern Conference one we posted on Monday because we're just going to jump right into it. I'm Andrew, that's Connor. This is the Western Conference Leagues Cup preview. Nothing long-winded, no waffling. We're going to get right into this and go. Connor, tell me what scarf you're rocking.
Enemies of the pod. You see this forest? Does this forest look familiar to you?
I was so close to grabbing this one. I'm like, I was like, oh, what do I want? What do I want? And Grace had knocked over a bunch on the bottom, and I saw one that fell, and I was like, oh, I'll just grab this one. But I was so close to grabbing it.
We should
Um,
have matched.
yeah, well, I got the newcomers. I got San Diego. One I know
Fair
you don't
play.
have yet. Fraud.
I do not. I gotta wait for the sale.
Good luck. Messi doesn't accept sale.
That's true.
Messi only raises prices,
He
not
doubles the
drops them.
prices.
All right. Well, listen, why don't we just jump right in because we spent a lot of time on Monday doing our thoughts on the tournament as a whole, the new setup, all that good stuff. So you can check that out if you want to hear our thoughts on that. But we're just going to go into our previews here to avoid this being another 3 hour episode. So we're in West One. Tier 1 teams are Tigres and LAFC. Tier 2 teams are Houston and Pachuca. Tier 3 teams are Mazatlan and San Diego FC. So we'll start with Tigres, the powerhouses of Liga MX. Most recently, they won the Champions League in 2020. They've got a Campeones Cup in 2023 as well. 35-year-old former Tigres center defensive mid Guido Pizarro has taken over before Las Clausura. He got them to fourth place in the league with 10 wins from 17. Good for 33 points. They've yet to play a match in the Apertura. They are insanely talented, and they have a sprinkle of MLS links, including Uriel Antuna, Juanjo Porrata, and Antonio Carrera, excuse me. This is a tournament they will expect to be performing well in, and most likely they will have winning this tournament on their bucket list. So, give me an idea of where they're playing, what their hub is, and transfers if they have a hub. I don't know if they did they do enough to get a hub. I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't look like it exactly, but they have a couple of games that are pretty close by. The first one, though, is not. They are going to be at Shell Energy Stadium in Houston. Next up, they're going to Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego before finishing off their trip in BMO Stadium in LA. So Andrew kind of, I think, covered a couple of their big signings. I'd say the biggest one is probably Angel Correa coming over from Atletico Madrid. A couple other names I wanted to call out here is Romulo and Joaquim. A couple of Brazilians coming over from Internacional and Santos, respectively. None of those are my player to watch. I've gone actually for Diego Lainez. That is for those that remember, was hyped up for a long time as one of the up and coming stars for Mexico. Someone that was had the potential to be on the level of someone like Chucky Lozano and did not quite hit that. I mean, I think he kind of it felt like he struggled a little bit in Europe. I mean, he still got over there, so like credit to him for that. There's a lot of players that don't even get that opportunity. But now he has come back to Mexico to play with Tigres. The last couple of seasons has really started to make his spot in the starting lineup, but still kind of hasn't hit that goal scoring, assisting involvement like I think a lot of people would expect. Granted, I don't know how Tigres play. Maybe they play him in a different type of role, but there's clearly a lot of talent there. So very interested to see what he can bring to the table if maybe he could still kind of hit that level of potential that he once had.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. Before I do mine, I will say I just found the list of assignments. Club America, who we will cover later, is in Salt Lake City, and then we'll play two matches in Texas, which they list as a like, oh, you get a privilege, you don't have to travel. But Texas is basically the size of a country anyway, so that doesn't really
Yeah,
help them.
seriously.
Cruz Azul will get two matches against LA or against its MLS oppositions in Carson, so they'll be hubbed out in Los Angeles. Quotes. Toluca, who we covered before, they get two matches in the New York, New Jersey area, Sports Illustrated Stadium. Tigres, who we just spoke about, are in Southern California, like Connor mentioned. Monterrey will get two matches in Cincinnati, and Pumas will get all three of its matches against clubs in Florida, which is what we spoke about last episode. So that is your list of hubs. It's a little bit different from last year where they had like this was where you are playing. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Everybody travels to you. Now they just get general areas, which I think is interesting. But let us know what you think about that. I, of course, as you had kind of alluded to, one of their new signings, Angel Correa, is somebody that I'm keeping my eye on because first off, I thought this was going to be a perfect player for MLS to toss $22 million at and say, hey, come play for us. Instead, they gave it bums like Latte Lath, who's leading the league in not scoring goals.
He's
Whatever. Um, no, he's actually doing okay. There are other players that need to step up around him. But instead, Liga MX get him. He's going to be a terror on the wings against any MLS side that he faces, especially with Tigre's quality around him. Um, that is going to be a nightmare, and it's yeah, I'm just worried that he's going to do to us, like I said, kind of in the last episode, players who I thought should have come here and then end up going to Liga MX usually hurt us. So I think he'll end up doing something like that.
8 million euros is all it's saying that it took to bring him in. Like, come on, you telling me there wasn't a single MLS side that could have thrown that money at him? Like, come on.
Literally, literally.
I bet you Montreal's still sitting on the same money that they get from all the players they dumped out. You could have thrown 10 million at Correa and he would have been the biggest name player you've had since Didier Drogba.
Yeah. Or even flip that, right? Like you've got teams like LAFC who are sitting there saying we're going to throw the bag at Antoine Griezmann for 2 years, and you could bring Angel Correa in, and he can be your guy for the next five, six, seven, whatever.
Well,
It's just
he's 30, so I don't know if seven might be a stretch, but at least for another like 3 4 years.
sure, sure. But anyway, speaking of LAFC, why don't we transition into them because Steve Cherundolo is preparing his ride off into the sunset as he announced that he's going to step away from the team at the end of the year. LAFC were in an extremely tough Club World Cup group, as it turns out, with the eventual champions as their first ever game. And while the feeling was that they underperformed, they stood tall against the likes of that eventual champion Chelsea and dropped points probably where they shouldn't have. But now they enter the League's Cup in fourth place in the West with 2 or 3 games in hand, depending on who you compare it to. They've got 35 points through 20 games on 10 wins and 5 draws. This group might not be the toughest, but to be a top 4 MLS side, it may be difficult for them. Talk to me about where they're playing and some of the moves that they've made so far.
Yeah, so LAFC kind of shockingly, if you, they're going to be playing all of their games at BMO Stadium, they're going to be in LA for all of them. I think that's going to be helpful. So, big signings for LAFC. There's a couple of big names that have left recently, so they're not going to count anymore. Uh, but one that I will call out here is Javiero Dilrosun. Yeah, that was definitely right.
Actually, I think it is closer than I was going to pronounce it, so I think you're good there.
Well, he's Dutch, so I don't know if the J is an H
That's
sound.
that's exactly where I was kind of caught up on it too.
I'm just so used to that. So it's definitely either Haviro or Javiro. Definitely one of those two, and definitely not none of them. I've gone for him. He's coming over from, I believe, Club America,
Yep.
somewhere in Liga MX. So maybe a guy that might know a couple of the teams well, knows the way that they play, might be able to give them a little bit of insight here. Could be helpful for them, even though he hasn't played a ton so far. He's made 5 appearances, 5 starts in all of those appearances. So still kind of getting up to speed. My player to watch though is Jeremy Ebobisse. With Giroud out, I think the striker spot should be his. Whether or not it will be, I don't know. But the door is wide open for him to come in and take that striker spot. We know what he's capable of. This is a team around him that has plenty of talent and he could really benefit from it being around guys like Tim Tillman, Denny Bouanga, David Martinez. So I think it's a great opportunity for him, especially in this tournament with kind of like these first few chances again to make that his starting spot. So if he gets the opportunities here in this tournament, I think it could be huge for him.
Yeah, and he was one of the guys that kind of came on my radar as well, where you've got so much opportunity to be successful, right? You've got this is the spot that they brought you in for. It's yours to take it, run with it. But the player to watch for me is going to be that Javiro Dilrosun. He was brought in on loan on a DP deal from Club America for the Club World Cup. and I believe he's there. I mean, he played the last two World Cup games, Club World Cup games, I think. I don't think he played the one that I went to, but he was getting minutes. And then I'm sure they're gonna work him in there. But I've heard that there's a purchase option on there, so he's got the Club World Cup and like 15 MLS games to show that he deserves the move and the bag that comes with it, right? So he's got a goal in 4 games, all of which were starts in MLS after Club World Cup. So if he shows out and is a top 5 scorer in Leagues Cup this year, maybe kickstarts a run that catapults them to the top of the West and a deep MLS Cup run. Maybe there's a nice paycheck waiting for him at the end of the season. Again, really, really long and bold goals to set, but that's probably what's going to take to get him over here. So he's got to be the guy, right? So let's see if he's up to the task. And then we go to Texas. El
Yeehaw.
Dynamo. Well, listen, we're going to the land of Benny Ball here, right? And this is a team where the previous year seeding can really mess things up. This is a tier 2 team. Ben Olsen's got them sitting in 11th place, 3 points out of the playoffs with 7 wins and 23 points. They've lost 5 of their last 7 games to some very not good teams like Sporting Kansas City and CF Montreal, while also finding a way to knock off San Diego, top of the West San Diego in a 7-goal thriller. And that, my friends, is why Benny Ball will never die. They will hope to ride this chaos into some solid performances in the League's Cup, and if they're not solid, at least they better be entertaining. Talk to me about location, talking about signings.
So Houston will be playing all of their games in Houston, probably likely because of that hub that you were talking about for, I can't remember which team. One of them has their hub in
Tigres.
Texas. Yeah. No, Tigres is LA area. One of them has a hub in Texas. And I think that has allowed the opportunity for Houston to host all 3 games. So all will be played at Shell Energy Stadium. A couple of the big signings, I've gone for Jack McGlynn, getting his shot with the national team lately. Seemed to have really broken out this year with Houston. And then I've gone for another fun name to pronounce. I gotta stop picking people with tough names to pronounce. Um, I've gone for Ondrej Linger, Eastern European name, just as bad as some of the other names that I have to pronounce. I believe he's Czech, Czech, just to be specific. I don't even
Header?
know if that counts as Eastern European. Huh?
Header?
Close enough. They could be related. My player to watch, though, the aforementioned Jack McGlynn, a guy that started to get chances with the national team, in my opinion, looked pretty good when he was on the field out there. He has become a focal point and a big player in this Houston team. Yes, Houston hasn't performed super well this season, but I think that McGlynn has really rose his stock here and gotten a chance to kind of shine more than he would in Philly, where there were a couple of other big names to kind of take the spotlight. So it's been, I think, a good landing spot for him here in terms of his career development and another really big opportunity for him to kind of take his name to the next level and have like a bigger temporary spotlight on him in a cup competition.
Yeah, yeah. And I actually am gonna just piggyback off of that and go with one of the names you so brilliantly pronounced.
Thank you.
Ondrej Linger is my player to watch because as I scroll through Twitter, doom scrolling as one does on a Sunday afternoon, the the jury is basically out on this guy. You've got some people who are sitting here saying that he's sitting on the bench and he is sitting behind an Amine Bassi who has not created enough chances, or he's playing out wide, and he shouldn't be out wide. He should be central. Then you got other people saying that he shouldn't be there. He's not good enough. Blah 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 blah. And the conversation is pretty interesting. But at the end of the day, this could be a really good spot for him to silence all of that and say, yeah, he's the guy that deserves the money that they paid for him. He's the guy that deserves the title of that, out and out first name on the team sheet type of guy. And really, he's got 5 goal contributions in 15 games. It's okay. But he's really, as a designated player, that's the return a TAM player would give you. You need to turn those numbers into more successful stuff. So it'd be interesting to see if he can do that here. Let's move back to Liga MX then with Pachuca, another one where the previous season results are interesting in terms of the tiers because Pachuca just 2 seasons ago were the Champions League winners in 2024. They just won their first game of the Apertura 3-0. They finished eighth in the Clausura last year with 8 wins and 29 goals scored. They're under the leadership of Jaime Lozano. They had similar experience to many CONCACAF nations in the Club World Cup, bouncing out early after some good performances. Now, with the MLS links such as Jonder Cadiz and Chofis Lopez, they will look to make a deep run in League's Cup. Talk to me about locations and transfers.
So Pachuca is going to be playing their first game in Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego, followed by a short trip over to BMO Stadium in LA, ending things off in Shell Energy Stadium in Houston. One of the names that I have gone for here in terms of big signings for them, I've gone for Eduardo Gabriel from CD Everton, not England Everton. And then my player to watch is the youngster Elias Montiel. Seems to be an up and coming player over in Mexico. The 19-year-old actually scored in their first game in their win that Andrew just mentioned before, but in his previous 2 seasons has played significant minutes and has made a lot of starts with the first team here. Seems to be really making a name for himself and a name that I hadn't heard of before doing the research on this. So very interesting to see a young guy with this much experience already, probably due to his, ability on the field. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on him.
Yeah, well, I'll go with another guy that you probably have never heard of, considering you only, you're kind of more of a front runner than anything else. But I'm going for a guy named Kennedy. He used to play for this club called Chelsea. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. You probably haven't seen them play in years, but this is another promising career that was ruined by the lone army of Chelsea FC. He ended up at this second-rate League MX league, and he's going to try and revive it, but he's 29 years old. So we're probably going to have to watch him come into Leagues Cup, get pocketed by Ryan Hollingshead, then go travel back and get pocketed by Chris McVeigh for 90 minutes. I mean, let's see if he can get anything going for Pachuca, but they're missing their best goal scorer in Solomon Rondon, MLS killer. Wish him terribly. I hope he never comes back and plays MLS teams ever again because all he did was brutalize us every single time he was on the pitch. 3 goals here, 2 goals there. I'm glad he's no longer around. But Kenny's going to need to be one of a few players that step up and make an impact in this attack. So
Fun fact, one of my Chelsea jerseys is Kennedy on the back.
yeah, but you that was supposed to be like Ryan Kennedy, like you got it for some American that was supposed to be over there. You pulled a Connor Burke and just put a random American on a name. It was like I'm willing this into existence. It's gonna happen.
No, I picked it. I picked it because my number in baseball growing up was 16, and he was number 16 at the time on Chelsea. So he
You
just
played
happened to
baseball?
be. I played baseball,
That's
so
crazy.
he happened to be the guy that made it onto the jersey.
That explains your lack of ball knowledge. Finish up the Liga MX sides in this group. It's Mazatlan. It is another one of the bottom clubs from Liga MX. They've got a massive offloading of talent recently, including the likes of Luis Amarilla and Rodolfo Pizarro, who we spoke about a little bit earlier. 70-year-old Victor Manuel Vucetic. He's the way I'm going to just call him the Liga MX Bruce Arena at this point. And he's going to look to try and go on a miracle run with Mazatlan, who finished 16th out of 18 in the Clausura last year, which is 4 wins and 17 points. However, they have already picked up a quarter of the wins from last season in this season, winning one of their first 2 games in the league. With all of that offloading, they're left with one scarce link to MLS, that being somebody that we all know and love from the US Twitter will love. Ventura Alvarado, a center back who had a brief stint with Inter Miami and an even briefer stint with the USMNT. I'm sure because he doesn't play in MLS anymore, everybody wants him into the national team. But yeah, he was not very good. Talk to me about
We
locations, players, and go ahead.
we almost had another one, but Luis Amarilla just left recently.
No, I know that's why I said Amaria and Pizarro left very recently, so they used to
Yeah,
be there, but they're not there anymore.
close, almost. I mean, they're spreading the wealth. They brought Pizarro onto another team so that they made sure that we tried to have one for every team.
Well,
So I respect it.
Liga MX knows that the only way to beat MLS is with MLS because they can't do it with just their players. So they take all the players from MLS and they spread them out against the teams, and then they go play us and they say, "Ha, look at what we did to you," even though we just did it to ourselves, basically.
So anyway, Mazatlan, they're going to be playing their first game at BMO Stadium in LA, followed by a trip over to Shell Energy Stadium in Houston, and then back to the West Coast to play at Snapdragon Stadium. Definitely going to be a bit of travel. Feels like one of the teams that's going to have to travel probably close to the most with that back and forth there. In terms of big signings, Anderson Duarte was a name that I'm going to call out here on loan from Toluca. And he is also my player to watch here. The young Uruguayan coming over on loan from Toluca has been getting some game time to start the season with them. I think there's probably, I mean, he had some success early on in his career in Uruguay, but since moving over to Liga MX, hasn't really found his place in the team. He had a stint with Mazatlan last season, didn't play a ton, just about maybe 600 minutes, one goal, one assist, so a little bit disappointing, but he's still very young. So maybe this is an opportunity for him to kind of get his feet wet, just see some new like defenses. Maybe he's struggling a little bit against the Liga MX teams. Maybe he goes up against some of the MLS sides and can build a little bit of confidence and then carry that into the season and kind of find that form that he had back in Uruguay. So he'll be the one I'm watching.
Yeah, and I'm just actually I'm double checking here just to make sure. No, I didn't. I went with a Colombian, and his name is Nico Benedetti, a name that I feel like I've seen around for a while now when it comes to Liga MX. He's got a Colombian national team cap as well, but he's been a key part to the Mazatlan attack in recent seasons. 15 goals and 12 assists since the 2022 Clausura. He will have to be firing on all cylinders, give Mazatlan an ounce of a chance, along with every other player in the group. But I will look to him to be kind of like the focus of their attacking through the middle of the park. And let's finish up this group with newcomers San Diego FC. They were placed in group three because their history had them bottom of the points table with 0 points. Is
Wow, they
that
were
not
terrible.
insane? How I can't believe they even made it. No prior history means you get tossed into group three in replacement of Vancouver, who I'm sure are not heartbroken over that. But I think they may surprise some people here under the guidance of Mikey Varas. They have surged this first year in the league, similar to St. Louis's first year in 2023. Currently atop of the Western Conference by 1 point and on a great run of form. They have 13 wins in 23 games and 46 total goals. They are not to be slept on here, that is for sure. Talking about where they're playing and who they might have, everybody's a new signing. So talk to me a little bit about maybe the bigger new signings.
I quite literally wrote for big signings. I quite literally wrote everyone. But yes, I could call out some of the bigger new signings for them. But first, in terms of where they're going to be playing, a big boost for them in their first ever Leagues Cup. They're going to be playing every game at Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego, so they'll have the home crowd. They won't have to travel much. That should help them out a bit here. As mentioned, everybody on this team is new, but some of the bigger faces for this team, Anders Dreyer, for those that have been following the league, has been monumental for them. Was kind of, I would say, one of their bigger maybe not by name, but one of their bigger signings to start things off anyway. And then another big face, Chucky Lozano. That was probably the biggest one with the most hype bringing in. Just one other name I want to throw out there, USMNT semi-regular, Luca De La Torre, another name that people might be familiar with. In terms of players to watch for me, despite the fact that Dreyer seems to be the guy for them right now, I've gone for Chucky Lozano because I feel like he could be a difference maker for them. He has been doing well when he's played. The thing is, it's been a big question of when he's played. He has 1,200 minutes right now, and just to give perspective, Dreyer, who has the most minutes on their team, has 2,100 minutes. Um, so going to be interesting to see how they use him in this tournament. But when he's on the field, he has been very productive for them. So it will be very interesting to see what kind of damage he can do when he gets his opportunities. And that's kind of all you need in a cup competition like this.
Luckily, there's no Leagues Cup fantasy because he's usually very productive until I pick him and captain him for my fantasy team. Right, Grace? Isn't that crazy? Isn't
Well,
that
good thing there's no
insane?
fantasy for Leagues Cup, so they should be doing well.
Grace. She's like, I know, isn't this? He's crazy.
She's like, "Listen, give me the mic. I told him not to pick him as a captain."
Yeah, well, anytime that I pick him, he usually blanks. So, take that for what it's worth. Because I was gonna pick him for my player to watch as well, but I figured, you know what? That's silly. because even though he's 100% in the MVP conversation, I'm going to podcast curse him out of it just by captaining him every week. Um, so instead, I'm going to go with Thomas Angel, son of Red Bull legend Juan Pablo Angel. Ever since Milan Ilaski, who was their number 9 with double-digit goals, said that he wanted to go back to the Danish division. Okay. They need somebody to lead the line, and he is going to be that guy because the other signing they had, Marcus Ingvartsen, he's been in and out of injury and not really featuring in the team. So it looks like it's going to fall on Thomas Angel to be that guy. And he's going to need to be very, very clinical, if not more clinical than Milan Ilaski, to allow San Diego to have the best chance of success. And they're two different players. So it's really going to be interesting to see if he can take that over. He's young, he's 21, 22. So it's, time to grow and time to learn. But yeah, he's definitely going to have to focus on that for sure. Alrighty then. It's predictions time. Give me 6-1, buddy.
All right, 6 for me is going to be Mazatlan. 5 is going to be Houston. 4, I've got Pachuca. 3, I've got LAFC. 2, I've got San Diego. And 1, I've got Tigres.
Oh, we're pretty close on this one. At 6, I've got Houston. At 5, I've got Mazatlan. At 4, I've got Pachuca. 3, I've got LAFC. 2, I've got San Diego. And 1, I've got Tigres. So we're very
Oh, you're
close on
so
that one for
close,
sure.
so
Yeah.
close.
Yeah. But listen, one of us knows ball, the other one's you. So we move.